This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening. I'm Sabrina Brown. Thank you for joining us. The country celebrating an historic occasion today, the 50th anniversary of majority rule. Festivities were held in the nation's capital in celebration of this achievement. Tonight, two men who were involved in the struggle are giving their take on majority rule and how it has transformed the Bahamas. Italia Hall has the story.
It was a defining moment in Bahamian history. The attainment of majority rule on January 10, 1967, ushered in equality for all Bahamians. Festivities in celebration of the 50th anniversary of majority rule began at 7 a.m. with a march in New Providence. Hundreds marched from Windsor Park to Bay Street, and it ended with a gospel concert at the Southern Recreation Grounds. Here on Grand Bahama, former Member of Parliament and Ambassador Maurice Moore, who was a part of the struggle for majority rule, says he's happy to be around to celebrate this important milestone in Bahamian history.
I am extremely happy and proud, firstly, of being a Bahamian. Secondly, those things which we have achieved. We have not done everything that we could have done or everything that we wanted done. But I am pleased the progress which we have made, and I look forward to enjoying even greater things in the years ahead.
West End historian Hilton Bullock, who was also a part of the struggle, says it has been a very long road, but he's proud to be a part of the Bahamian history.
There's so many of our friends that passed on and made so much sacrifice. We haven't got all what we want to accomplish, but Bishop Michael Eldon once said, there's still more land to be processed.
Moore then reflected on the history of Grand Bahama prior to the attainment of majority rule.
We were fortunate at that time to have the employment created as a result of the Abaco Lumber Company here on Grand Bahama. Before then, of course, Grand Bahama was nothing more than another fishing village. But the advent of the Abaco Lumber Company created a new form of employment for the men, in particular the men of Grand Bahama.
Both men say as the country moves beyond the 50th anniversary, they hope that Bahamians would appreciate what has been achieved and remain united to take the country forward. Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
A prominent businessman credits majority rule for paving the way for Bahamians to follow their dreams and achieve lofty goals. This business leader recalls the struggle and its impact in a growing nation. Hadley Forbes came to Grand Bahama from the Turks and Caicos Islands in 1946 as a young boy. He recalls living in an era of oppression here in the Bahamas and his early days of employment.
I used to drive lugging truck. Two trailers, pulling two trailer of wood to the mill in Pine Ridge. I used to be water boy in Pine Ridge when I was much smaller. 1 shilling a day. But out of that 1 shilling, my mother saved something for me.
He says he remembers vividly the struggle towards majority rule and how excited he and many others were to see a change in the Bahamas.
In the back of our mind, we had to say, well, when we get there, it will be payback time. Penland says that's a no-no, and Randolph Fox, there's no time to pay back. It will be time to build a country.
2 years after the country attained majority rule came the establishment of H. Forbes Charter Services, a company that would evolve as a leader in the tourism industry over the years. Forbes says descendants of the Turks and Caicos Islands will forever be grateful to the Bahamas and the people of Grand Bahama for allowing them to have a better way of life. He says they have played a significant role in helping to build communities around the island.
We start out from Pine Ridge, billing, And then we move into 8 Mile Rock. We establish the Hannah Hill community, Pinedale community, Jonestown community, Seagrape community. And everywhere we went, we built churches and we built schools.
Majority rule was achieved some 50 years ago, but it was in October 2013 that legislation was signed by the Governor General, making January 10th of each year the majority rule holiday. ZNS News took to the streets today to get the views of residents on this important holiday. Many Bahamians took time out to reflect on the significance of that time in Bahamian history.
The day is significant for me. It's a day that really shows that as Bahamians we stand up for our rights.
And it brought tears to my eyes when I first learned about the majority rule and to find out what the leaders from back then had to do to make sure we get to where we are today, you know. That was touching for me.
Majority rule means that Bahamians should have a different outlook on life. Should be trying to get as educated as they possibly can, because that's very important for all of us. And majority rule, that's a betterment for everybody in the Bahamas.
It's supposed to be for the good of the country, and change over from slavery, and change us into where we are more free to do things in the Bahamas.
Majority rules means to me is being together, everybody fighting as one.
Always remind us that freedom is something that we have to fight for. Our positions in life, the things that we should all receive equally, we have to fight for them. And I hope, especially the present generation and the generations to come, we always make sure that these days are remembered and this part of our history is never forgotten.
Cabrina Adderley says the struggle towards majority rule was particularly special to her family, as she recalls how her mother stood with those who fought for freedom of Bahamians.
Black Tuesday, back in the day, my mother, Ina Hepburn, sat on Bay Street alongside and Oscar Penland. So majority rule has all been very significant in our lives, and especially in Nassau. And my oldest brother, Asma, you know, he was supposed to be to school that day, and he didn't go to school, so he almost got chastised.
Brian Roll and Henry Rollins believe that many Bahamians do not appreciate the significance of Majority Rule Day, perhaps due to lack of education.
I think we show a lack of appreciation what the day really means. I think over the years we have fallen into that trap to say, hey, don't talk about it. And so even in history and in school, you never really learn anything about the day. I was surprised watching TV the other day to heard so many things that have happened during the day that I never knew about.
We need more education on the Bahamas in general, like just to know where you came from. A lot of people don't know where they come from, so they lost. They don't know where they're going.
The voter registration numbers continue to climb on Grand Bahama. This past weekend, a mobile registration center was established outside Stop and Shop Plaza on Polaris Drive. The chief counselor for the Freeport City Council, Fraser Gibson, spearheaded the event. Assistant Parliamentary Commissioner Reno Smith says they want to register as many Bahamians as possible. He commended Gibson for her efforts.
Our registration drive for the Central Grand Bahama constituency. We are very pleased and happy to be working with her. The staff was here very early this morning. As a matter of fact, due to the crowd, we had to engage the services of additional staff to bring here this morning. We have some 5 persons who are not ordinarily employed with the Parliamentary Registration Department. We had to engage them here because we have other staff members in the office carrying on similar activities. And so today we are impressed. From very early this morning the crowds were coming, and as you can see, it's still consistent.
Chief Counselor Gibson says it's so important for every Bahamian to go out and register so they are able to exercise their democratic right to vote.
The reason why this location was selected is because this is the hub of Central Constituency, where you have the plaza where everybody comes to wash, to shop, to the salon, to BTC, and so this was a very important step that when they walk into the food store that they can just stop and register to vote.
Stay with us, there's more news after this.